What's going on, guys? So, back again with another episode of Brough Guitars Review. Got some good things to talk about. Finally have a guitar for you to talk about. Currently, Halen's got a choo-choo, as in a rawhide bone, so I'm hoping that he stays quiet. I put up his squeaky toy. He was going to town on that thing. So, I want to talk about something really cool. So I've seen Van Halen on tour twice. I used to work at the Hard Rock Cafe off Hollywood Boulevard in California, so I've also seen them play when they played out in front of what's his name, Jimmy Kimmel. So I've seen Van Halen several times, but I never got to see him with Michael Anthony, because then the 2007 reunion tours with Wolfgang, which was a great show, obviously. I never got to see him in 2004, their last rendition with Sammy Hagar, so I had never really got to see them, Sammy Hagar or Michael Anthony, which is very unfortunate. Now, they did come out to Vegas, I want to say it was last year. They had a residency at the Stratosphere. But they managed to make it back out to Vegas at the Palms. This was a few months ago, but I wanted to wait until I got this thing before I talked about it. But yes, I am wearing my Sammy Hagar shirt that I bought from there. It was a fantastic show, and that's not what this video is about. But I mean, it was great. They played all the hits from when from the Montrose days to when it was Van Hagar, and I just wanted to just say that Sammy and Michael Anthony were literally... I've never seen a show where there was so much love and admiration for the fans, and so much paraphernalia signed. Like, I mean, the whole show, and it wasn't even disruptive, but Sammy would sit there, be singing, and he'd just sitting there signing along, getting things, pouring tequila for people. Michael Anthony, same ordeal. I mean, they hung out even after the show and signed a bunch of stuff. And again, it was like for the first, I would say, a few rows. Obviously, you're paying a lot of money for that. But I've never seen anyone take so much, time and care to do that. So I was blown away. Not that I ever thought that they were stuck up people or this or that. But again, I don't personally know them. So I mean, who am I to say? They say don't meet your heroes, right? But I was very impressed. I mean, it was very professional. A lot of gratitude on their part. The only reason why, again, I brought all that up was because a long time ago I met Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. I got a picture framed, some signed stuff, story from another time, for another time. But they had there some photos that were signed by the bandmates. They didn't have any signed by Sammy, but I did just get this back from being framed here. Obviously, there's a glare, but as you can see, there's Michael Anthony with the signature and a little pick there. My daughter picked out the frame. I thought it looked pretty cool. Actually, she did a good job. Makes the signature really pop on it. But yeah, so I just thought that was really cool. So he's going to go right next to Billy Gibbons. But I just wanted to touch on that because I just thought it was a really cool thing to talk about. So I definitely advise you go see them before they're all dead and gone, because they're not getting any younger. I mean, I think Sammy's in his 70s, pushing 80. I mean, the he's up there. And Michael Anthony was drunk as hell, but still played his ass off. But again, just genuine people. So it was a great show. Go see it. Plus, I'm wearing this shirt because I figured it would just make the guitar I'm actually going to talk about today pop more. So sorry for that little rant. But again, all things Van Halen, we're going to talk about it. Sorry, coffee. So next thing we're going to talk about is obviously the guitar. I've been working on 4 builds, what seems like for literally forever. This is the second of the 4 that just got done. So let's dive into this. So 1978, Eddie was playing. his black and white Frankie, and then obviously his Ibanez Destroyer, but this was his main, right? The 78 black and white Frankie, which we've talked about in a previous video, okay? So they came out with Van Halen 1. He's playing this as his main baby. And then they came out with Van Halen 2, which was a great follow-up album, but apparently was not as popular as Van Halen 1. Again, this is all before my time, but love that music to this day, obviously. So there's that. He was playing the 78, right? Let me put this down carefully before my dog knocks it over. So we go into 1979. Okay, so in 1979, Ed started playing this guitar right here. Please don't start, little man. Please don't start. Get your choo-choo. Here, it's right here. You lost it. It's right there. Good boy. We're gonna try. So he's playing his Bumblebee. So this is nicknamed the Bumblebee guitar, okay? We're gonna talk about different versions of this that exist today and this and that, but this is essentially what it kind of looked like, okay? Back in 1979. So the guitar itself was actually built by Grover Jackson. Okay, now Grover Jackson, which later the last name went on to be Jackson Guitars after he left Charvel, but back when he was with Charvel, he actually built this guitar for Eddie. Now it looked a little bit different, and we'll touch on that in a second. But he actually built this guitar for Eddie for Van Halen II. I don't necessarily know the reason as to why he chose to go a different guitar for whatever reason besides his black and white Frankie, but he did. Now I can't sit there and say on Van Halen 2, we're talking songs like, you know, Somebody Get Me a Doctor, Spanish Fly, there's just it was a bunch of songs on there, okay? I can't sit there and tell you verbatim if he played the Bumblebee on any of those songs, but I'm assuming that he did, just because it was actually featured on the back of the vinyl or later album in photos. So again, we'll touch on that. But according to Grover Jackson, he had built this guitar for Eddie, and then I don't know that it even had paint or anything, because basically Eddie called up Grover Jackson and said, hey, I need the guitar for a photo shoot, done, finished, ready, at Paramount Studios, because they were getting ready to do the artwork for the album and the back of the cover. So he finishes it all up, and the guitar actually looks a little different when he gets it done. So it's still the black and yellow, okay? The pickup is like this red pickup. Now, I don't know that Grover put that one in there originally. Maybe he did, but according to Eddie, it looked like it's a humbucker, but it had like red wire like all wrapped around it. Apparently, it was a non-functioning pickup, according to Eddie. Eddie said that he just slapped it in there because the guitar was in parts. But Grover Jackson said that he had to get it put all together for Eddie. So again, who really knows? I mean, if you guys know, let me know down in the comment section. But just from research I had done on the guitar, that's kind of what I came across. So somewhere in the middle, maybe there's the truth, okay? Who knows? Maybe it was all put together. It just didn't have paint. Eddie painted it, and after he painted it, maybe he took it apart and put it back together and put his own stuff on there. I'm not sure. But Grover Jackson claims to have actually built the guitar. But it had a humbucker in it. It had this red wiring all around it. They make that pickup today. I can't remember exactly verbatim what it was from, but I want to say it was a PAF that he had used DiMarzio parts to complete or something along those lines for the actual pickup itself that it was known for. But the little red one, I have no idea. Eddie claims that, again, it was just an extra thing and he put it in there. But it pretty much looked like this. Okay, just had the different pickup. Now the tremolo was different. It was not a Floyd yet. It was just the normal stock, like Strat style tremolo. And then the headstock, there was no locking nut, okay, which means no retainer bar. But the face of the neck was actually black. So it had a normal nut. The face of the headstock was black. And no Floyd, different pickup, okay? That was technically the first rendition of that guitar, and it was actually all made that way strictly for the photo shoot, which I actually thought was very interesting, because I did not know that. So Eddie did the photo ops, this and that, and then he toured with the Bumblebee, okay? And then it later became this with a white pickup, and then it had the very first version of a Floyd Rose, because he was in Works with Floyd, and it had its own very first version of a Floyd, and that version actually has no fine tuners on it. Now, it was pure steel, so it was a lot darker than this, and I'll touch on that later, differences in this and that. But again, this is just a synopsis, quick little history lesson. He toured with that guitar in 1979 for the Van Halen tour, Van Halen II tour. I don't know why that was so hard to say. I apparently need more coffee. Cheers. Black coffee is so bitter. Okay, so here you go, 1979. He's touring with this guitar. All right. Shh. Get your choo-choo, dude. Here, chew it up. There you go. This dog, he has a conniption over the smallest things. But anyway, so this guitar, basically how it came to an end, and this guitar's had different necks on it and this and that. And one thing I want to touch on real quick with the black faced headstock neck. That neck, before it was put on with this one, and I think the whole reason why Eddie changed it was because that one didn't have a shelf for a locking nut, so he just changed the neck out completely. But the original neck with the black headstock on it actually went on to go on the, there you go, stop dropping it. It actually went on to go on, I think it was the Dragon Snake guitar. Rob Johnson has one, and I think Lock Bodies actually happens to make that body as well that you could buy if you wanted. Good luck painting it though. You have to find somebody. That would be a pain in the butt to paint. But so there you go for that little history lesson. Okay. I'm trying to keep up with my notes, but now my dog is blocking it. So yeah, Grover Jackson built the guitar, 79. This is pretty much how he toured with it at that point in time. Shh, sit. So, 1979, he's playing this guitar. Now, how this guitar ended. Okay, now apparently Eddie really had a hard time with this guitar. I don't know that, if I remember recording interviews, again, don't quote me on this, but I don't think he necessarily enjoyed the sound of the guitar or quite how it played. I think it was just basically a constant kind of struggle with the guitar. But back in 2004, this dog, here, keep it up there. Back in 2004, Dimebag Darrell from Pantera was murdered. Unfortunately, he passed away. Very unfortunate passing. I'm not going to dive into that history lesson, but it's pretty sad. So Dimebag Darrell passed away, and I guess he had actually, back in the day, offered Eddie Van Halen like $30,000 for Eddie to build him one of his striped guitars. And, rumor has it, basically, that he was on the verge of cutting a check for Eddie, and Eddie was like, no, like, I don't want your money, like, I'll just kind of build you one. Shh, get your choo-choo. Come on, you're killing me. It's right there. Get your choo-choo. Chew the choo-choo. So, sorry about that, guys. He's just not cooperating today. Again, Eddie said, no, I'm gonna go ahead and build your guitar. You don't have to worry about paying me this and that. Well, obviously Dimebag passed away, and I guess Dimebag's, I don't know if it was his wife or his girlfriend or whatever. Eddie had reached out to her, give his condolences and this and that. And, he said, what can I do? Like, is there anything I can do to, pay my respects and this and that? And I guess she had mentioned, like, hey, if you want to build him, one of those guitars that you never got the chance to, maybe do that. And then I guess they kind of got on the topic of, well, did he like the red, white, and black one or black and white one? And then I guess she had told him, like, hey, Dimebag actually was a huge fan of your black and yellow one. He said that was your baddest guitar that you ever had. And so I guess Eddie shows up to the funeral. Now, actually, my guitar luthier actually has built a couple guitars for Eddie in the past, but I guess he has a best friend who was actually there at the funeral, because Vinnie Paul actually used to live out here in Vegas too before he passed away. I don't know that Dimebag did or not. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, his friend was there at the funeral, and he said that Eddie did in fact show up, and he showed up with this guitar, the actual 79 Bumblebee. He shows up with this guitar, and then they buried it with Dimebag. Literally, he buried it with Dimebag General. Just opens up the the coffin, puts it in there before it goes down the ground, and boom, there with him. So I guess his Dimebag's girlfriend, again, wife, whoever she was, sat there and asked him, like, why did you do this one in particular? And he said, an original deserves an original. So again, that's pretty cool. Sometimes you hear these stories about Eddie, about him being a dick or this or that, but I mean, that's a pretty cool story. I mean, we all have good side and bad side. I'm not going to go on a tangent. None of us are perfect. We're all works in progress. But again, that just shows you, that the kind side that he did have, I mean, was super, stoic and, good and yada, 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 whatever words you want to come up with. The guy was he had a very kind heart as well. And that was how this guitar ended. And he never, obviously, got to touch that guitar ever again. So, with Dimebag. Now, this guitar was later done at the custom shop by, you got it right there, dude. You are killing me. You're looking right at it. Eat your choo-choo. It's right here. There you go. Eat it. So, EVH with Fender Instruments, custom shop, Chip Ellis, put out this guitar, I think, in 2019, after they'd already kind of done the Frankie, this and that. So they come out with the 79, and they wanted, I think, essentially $20,000 for that guitar. Crazy, obviously you get all the case candy, this and that. There's videos out there of exactly what you would get with that guitar, but again, that's a $20,000 guitar. Well, I mean, not everybody get it. Not everybody has $20,000 to. There you go. Are you good now? Not everybody has $20,000 to just sit there and fork over for a guitar, right? So I'm not one of those people, unfortunately. So I went ahead and decided to build myself a tribute version to a tribute of that guitar. So I went that route. So this is, again, my tribute version to the 79 Bumblebee. Okay. Now they do have the EVH model, which is a badass guitar. I might still actually buy that one. Get your thing. Goodness gracious God. And of course I threw it underneath the table. So, oh, he got it. Good job. My dog is smart. So, EVH put out the Bumblebee, right? And I want to say that, I mean, you can get that guitar for a pretty good deal nowadays for around the $900 mark or so, or upwards of maybe $1,200. It's worth every penny of it, guys. It's a really great guitar. There is a couple differences with that guitar, but again, it's also a tribute guitar, so you can't really fault these Stripe Series guitars for being exact, That's why you're paying that $20,000 mark for a 79 or something like that, because that's as close to the original as you could possibly get. But you know, that Stripe Series one is a bad A1. You know, again, it has a normal Floyd on it, and it has the black pickup, which I was actually a fan of. I almost didn't do this version, but then I was like, well, I could always just buy the EVH version that has the black pickup and this and that, which I think is a pretty sweet version. And I still might, like I said, I still might get that. It's a badass guitar. Probably my second favorite amongst the Stripe Series guitars. So the difference with the EVH one is this. Is it? I gotta look at it from the right angle. This stripe here that's coming down. See how it stops? It doesn't continue on into this one. It stops right there. You see some black. On that one, the stripe goes literally all the way through. So that's one of the differences on that one, besides the pickup and obviously the Floyd Rose. But just, again, just nitpicking, there ain't nothing wrong with the guitar. Like I said, it's great and it looks fantastic. Maybe a lot of people didn't even know that was a thing. Maybe it looked 100% to you. And that's, again, that's all that matters. If you go out and you buy that, that's all that matters. So let's dive into this bad boy. So this is a lock body. Okay, the original was an ash body. I actually got basswood. I prefer basswood. It's not as grainy, so obviously I didn't want any grain to be showing through this bad boy. I didn't technically use primer, but we'll touch on that. But this is a lock body. This is in fact the Bumblebee. So the Bumblebee, again, back in the day, was a rear-loaded guitar. It wasn't a front-loaded, meaning that's where you would see a pick guard and this and that to cover all electronics and this and that. Okay, it was a rear-loaded one, but it's a lock body. The neck is a Butala Bumblebee neck. Okay, and this one actually has some bird's eye in it. Okay. So I'll kind of go over pricing and stuff like that. Again, prices are subject to change. I'm not affiliated with these people. I don't promote them. I just enjoy their products. So I want to say the body was maybe like 150, maybe. The neck was about $300, I think, for that. It's heavy rolled fret edges, asymmetrical neck. I can go over the specs a little bit later if I can find the order. But it's a great feeling neck, and just an oil finish. I got the non-fine tuner Floyd on it. Okay, this isn't actually from the 80s one. It was missing one of the blocks in here, which kind of sucked. But I got that for, I want to say maybe $125 I got that for. The nut was $38. That was an R2 nut. The thing that's different about the Floyd that I might do later is they have an antique silver version of this from Floyd. I want to say it's around $150 or so. But it's a much darker metal. And I might actually go that route later on and maybe put this on something else. But then I'm just going to keep the bar, because the bar was actually like a chrome bar that was put on there. But again, the Floyd was an original, like the first version of the Floyd that came out on the 79. So it looks all off color because it was just steel. It wasn't plated or anything like that. So that's why it's not all shiny. But another little just fun fact, okay? I would probably go that route next time. I wouldn't relic your Floyds and this and that. There's a lot of parts that are very important in there, and if you mess with it, you just screwed everything up. So I would probably try to stick away from using, acid and this and that. Plus, you don't want to burn yourself and get skin rashes and yada, 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 okay? But that's that. Now the pickup, like I said, apparently he had wound himself, according to Eddie, but I also know that there's also rumors there, too, that this is a DiMarzio Super Distortion. So this is a DiMarzio Super Distortion. It's the white humbucker. Great pickup. It's really, really hot. The only thing is it doesn't clean up quite as well. It sounds a little a little bit on the muddier side. But for the high gain, I mean, this thing kills. The harmonics are there, squealies, this and that. Like, it's got sustain to it. It's a good pickup. Like I said, it just doesn't clean up very well. It sounds a little muddy. But again, that might also be the potentiometer too, because I went with a 250K. Maybe I go a 500. Again, just things to consider. Of course, he had the black tone knob. Oh, sorry, and this pickup here was maybe $90. You see this pickup ring? I want to say I got this from... who was it? Fairfield Guitars or EBMM on Instagram, maybe something like that. But it came up. I got the tone knob and the pickup ring because it's an off-size pickup ring, and it's 4 black screws and then 2 chrome ones here. But I've also seen it where the chrome ones are on the outside, so it just depends on what day you happen to choose to do the Bumblebee. But that's where it was. But I want to say that was maybe another, $20 or something like that, maybe for that, between the two. Let's see what else. This is just gaffer's tape, which is essentially like electrical tape, but it's like more like a cloth. But that's apparently what Eddie liked to use on a lot of his guitars that you see. Now the picks are remakes of, what's it called, the Tortex? Is that what it is? I can't recall what that. It's like clear plastic. As you can see, this is printed. This is not the real ordeal, okay? But these are like maybe $15 for 3 of them off of eBay. I think you can get them off of Etsy too. But Eddie had used those picks. This dog. They had used these picks on when he was playing at that time. Again, it was the 70s. Those were very popular things. There is a gold retainer bar for the Floyd on the 79. So there's that. That was maybe another $15. This is an R2 nut again. Like I said, it's I think it was $38. I don't think I mentioned the price earlier. Now the tuners are actually supposed to be the sorry, I just hit my camera. We're supposed to be the Schaller mini heads, but I just got Gattos on mine. They were like, I don't know, $42 or something like that. Here on the back, he just had a normal chrome plate. There was nothing special on it, but because Wayne Charvel was, kind of part of this, and Grover Jackson and this and that, I got a custom plate made off of eBay, so it looks something like that. It's got its own serial number. And plus Charvel had actually put out another Bumblebee. Charvel did, and I want to say that one went for, at that time, a couple grand. It's probably worth more now, but back then it was worth like, $2,000 or $3,000, which is a lot of money back then in the 2000s. And then you see Eddie playing a lot of Charvel striped guitars that you had never really seen before, because they did kind of like an art series thing of this and that. This dog. But like I said, they had put out other versions of that throughout the years. Charvel did, so that's why I just went with that neck plate, just to kind of pay homage. But again, it was just a normal chrome plate, no serial number, no nothing on it. And it was a 4-bolt. Here in the back, you see the volume potentiometer, but there's actually a tone one here too that was actually not sticking through the wood, but actually in reverse where the knob was here. And it was actually hooked up to what, I don't know, but it's actually sticking out here. So I might later just go stick one in there. I don't know, put some double-sided tape or something and put that in there. I might do that. Obviously, I got the eye hooks there. A few dollars at Lowe's or Home Depot. What else is cool and happening? Oh, the paint. So the paint, real quick. So on the EVH model, you're going to see it kind of like almost like a mustard yellow kind of ordeal. But the pictures are so deceiving. You got to remember, guys, with these photos, like if you go to evh.com, you can actually see like high quality photos of the 79 actually on there. But again, it all depends on the lighting and this and that, because again, photos back then weren't high def, so you're just getting all these random colored photos. Sorry, I'm watching Halen, make sure he's not doing anything dumb. Come here, little man. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. So you're going to see different things online, different reviews, different forums about what paint you should use. So I kind of went with the overall popular opinion, because again, I was looking at photos and there's some where the yellow looked darker, there were some where it looked more mustardy. It's very hard to sit there and say. I know Duplicolor has one that's kind of more of the darker in between mustard yellow and the bright yellow. So I'll probably go with that color. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But if I find that out, I'll leave it down there in the comments and tell you. But what I did first is obviously went over it with the yellow. So I used this. This is a paint and a primer together. That's the reason why I didn't just put primer on there first. And again, I went basswood because basswood's not as grainy, okay? So this paint right here is made by Rust-Oleum, and it's called, as you can see, Sun Yellow, and it is a gloss color, okay? Again, this guitar was a gloss finish, so we went with gloss for all the paints. But I went over it with yellow first, painted that sucker up, couple coats, probably 2 coats each side, used probably a full can at least. Again, I went real heavy on it with the paint because gloss, the thing you have to guys remember with gloss paint, that's the reason why you always see me use lacquers. People always ask me, well, why do you use lacquer? Why do you use lacquer? Why do you use Duplicolor? It's just a higher quality paint. Like I said, lacquers, they dry faster. They bond better. But you want to stick with the same paints just because you don't want to have chemical reactions and this and that. So try to keep it the same name brand and gloss with gloss and this and that. So you don't have any chemical reactions, because again, the paint could bubble. You could take tape off, it rips the paint off. You just go down the rabbit hole of, you just screwed yourself. So again, use the Sun Yellow Rust-Oleum. Now when I striped it, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to tell or not. Okay, and I'll give you guys more close-ups of, the guitar, so you can kind of see the relicking, and you can take pictures of this if you'd like, snapshots on your phone. Always, I'm here to help you guys out as much as I can. But the stripes, okay, when I was looking at photos, again, it just depends on the angle, because sometimes I was seeing the angle like this, sometimes just straight on, sometimes it was at like this, sometimes it was this. So you see it from all these different angles, and just every time I saw it, every time I would put tape on it, I just felt like the stripes weren't big enough, and the stripes weren't huge. But again, I don't know exactly the exact size that he used, so I went a little bit, I just eyeballed it. I'm not gonna sit there and tell you the exact same size that I used, because I don't know. I just kind of eyeballed it off the tapes that I had, and I went slightly bigger than the black stripes that I had on the black and white Frankie. So these are just barely bigger. But again, you may not have noticed me from a distance. Maybe it looks the right size, but I mean, these, like, look at the pinstripes. Like, they're a little too thick, I think. So, I mean, if I was to go back and do this again, I'd probably use a smaller tape. Maybe I didn't have my glasses on that day. I don't know. It was just very hard to really be able to nail that down for me personally. Maybe that's an easy mistake to fix for you guys, but like I said, for me, I had one pair of eyes. I'm like, I don't know. So I just went with my gut and just went this route. This guitar was not that hard to do overall. The only thing that was really a big pain in the ass was essentially the Floyd, because it has non-fine tuners, was just getting the sucker in tune, especially with new strings. That was the thing that was the biggest pain in the butt. So when you go to clamp down, here on the nut, the thing is because, again, no fine tuners, is you want to kind of, as you're clamping this down, don't clamp it down all the way, and just, barely micro tune, barely turn these suckers to get it in pitch. And once you're committed to that tune, just do two strings at a time and lock it. and then hopefully you'll kind of get in the realm of being tuned to whatever tuning you want to put this in. That's the nature of the beast. That's why the EVH one's awesome, because it's a normal Floyd with the fine tuners. And again, I might upgrade this to some point to a normal Floyd. I haven't decided yet, but I will probably keep it as this because, again, I'm an Ed head, and that's what Eddie had, and I don't have any guitars that are non-fine tuners. So this is just a really cool guitar for back in that time. But again, it is dated as far as technology goes, you know. So again, it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to, you know, play it and how you want to go about it. But back to the paint. So I did the sun yellow. Sorry, I went on a tangent. Then I used Rust-Oleum black. Again, notice that's gloss. I'm staying same brand here, right? The only thing I did different was the gloss finish, okay? But again, Rust-Oleum black. So I taped it up, and then I went over it with the black. Again, a couple coats each side, full can. So half a can for the front, half a can for the back, pretty much for everything. And then the last thing I did was, again, you can go to Lowe's specifically, I think carries this. Maybe, I know Walmart does. Home Depot, they carry something similar. Shh, lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Dog. But I use this as now it says satin, okay? Ignore the satin. I use gloss, okay? This is the only can I had to be able to show you the branding, because I get asked that too. It was a gloss finish, so no satin. Gloss, okay? So I did a gloss finish, and that's what gives it the shine there. See that? So there's the gloss finish. You can tell the shine. Okay. And see, you can still kind of see a little bit of the wood grain in there. See? See that? Put it in, and we went with the gloss finish. I did not wet sand this. I just went straight can on. If you want to wet sand it, I mean, you're more than welcome to. It's going to look a lot more professional grade and this and that. But I thought for a spray can rattle job, like most of Ed's stuff is, that's the route I went. But again, this was made by Grover Jackson apparently, so he probably made it look really, really nice and pretty. And if you look at the photos of the one that Fender put out, I mean, it's like a actual professional, you know, gloss finish on it. So again, the 79 Bumblebee, there you go. Like I said, it is slightly relic. It's not one of those more heavy relic guitars. Ignore that. That's just from my guitar stand. And another thing to keep in mind, guys, is this gloss paint takes a long time to cure. So be careful what you set your body against or down on or whatever. Leave it hanging. I mean, it's probably going to take a good month for it to cure. That's why another reason why this took so long is because it's easy to imprint on and will indent, it gets stuck to things. You know, you got to give it the proper drying times. You really do, because like I said, it's going to take friggin' forever. But again, slow down, less is more. You know, take your time, and this stuff's going to come out, you know, the way that you want it to. But again, this guitar is slightly reliced. And sometimes when you're peeling off these pinstripe lines, like you might get a little bit of where it's not clean here, it's just kind of jaggedness in it. You can just take your X-Acto knife and kind of clean it up. Use the rounded edge one, and it really cleans it up, because these stripes did not come out this nice. It looked a lot crappier. Okay. But see, it's got a couple nicks and dings and pings. There's that one. And there's another thing you'll probably have noticed on this guitar as we get to it. See, there's a little bit of relicking on the horn. Okay. Go to the back. Again, an easier guitar to do because there's not a lot of nicks and pings and dings. Just a little bit there in around the control cavity in the back there. Okay. So there's kind of a far away shot to the side if you want. See, look, there's some here on the edge. Just trying to show you guys. There's the jack. It was a square jack. It wasn't a barrel jack. Again, take your photos if you want. Okay. And there's that. So the last thing to touch on is this red paint. I don't know the story as to behind how Eddie got that red paint on there, but it looks similar to that. It's over here on this fret here, which is the 10th fret. If you see in photos too, you'll kind of barely see it. It's more prominent on other photos and because you're using strings on this and it's scratching through all that stuff. But I just use a little red paint, put it on a brush and just kind of dab that on there like that, drew it out. I mean, other than that, guys, last thing too, the Floyd is it's wood screws here in it, and this Floyd's actually floating. I mean, I can kind of barely pull up. It was just a lot easier. It was a lot easier to set it up as opposed to just flush. But usually I don't like floating Floyds, but that's the route we had to go. But again, this is the 79 Bumblebee. So if you guys have questions, let me know. More than happy to answer any of those for you. Oh, another thing, well, I'm about to forget. So it looks like there's almost like burn marks in the headstock. And another thing I probably would do differently is I might stain this headstock a little bit more. Because if you notice, the headstock's a little bit darker than the rest of the guitar. I don't know why. I really don't. I think maybe they try to apply like a finish, except everything but the fretboard. Because I know Eddie didn't particularly care for finishes on the fretboard. He wanted it to feel as natural as possible and worn in. So as smooth as you can. No lacquer, no nothing. But it's a little bit darker. So what I did here is I just used, again, stain, and I used a brush and I just kind of brushed it on because you can tell where like the wood grain marks are a little bit thicker and almost looks like burn marks because Eddie would always, put cigarettes freaking everywhere. And again, maybe that's another reason why the headstock looks a little bit darker than everywhere else. But another thing to consider if you're trying to, stay true to it. Like I said, mine's not 100% perfect. It is as close as I could get with the amount of, time that I've had as of late. But I think it turned out pretty good. For my first time ever doing it. I've never done the Bumblebee before in my life. Like I said, there's a couple things I might do different or had done differently. But I don't feel like this guitar really gets enough love. It kind of takes a back seat because it's not something that he necessarily played for an extremely long time or was really known for. But again, this guitar is pretty cool. And like I said, it's got a really cool back history. Usually I don't do the history too much, but I feel like there's not really a whole lot of history on this guitar, or at least it's talked about on YouTube. I've vaguely come across anything where people are really talking about it. But again, I mean, if I got any information wrong, feel free to tell me. Or if you got more information on the Bumblebee, let me know. Like I said, I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I'm always learning and trying to learn because I just think it's super interesting. So, that's really it. Let me see if I can find on my iPad the photos just so you guys can see exactly verbatim how we striped it real quick. Because I'm trying to do that for you guys. And I've had this thing charging for a while and it's only at like 10%. Get down. So let's take a gander here. Where are my photos? There they are. Bear with. Okay, let's go. Let's see photos of that. Go down here. Oh, you know what? I don't know if I took photos of it like a jackass. So anyway, there it is, yellow. Okay. Yep. And then maybe you can kind of tell how we striped it, because I guess I didn't take a before photo. I probably forgot, like a jackass. There's the back. And then we pulled the tape off, we relicked it. Okay. In case you want to take your photos now. Again, the tape's a little bit too thick, especially you can tell down here with this smaller stripe right there. It's too thick. So again, learn from me, guys. Learn from my lessons. Now here's some pictures of the actual one that Ed's playing there. See where his hand, where he's picking is, right there, where that stripe stops. And like I said, on the EVH1, it goes all the way through. And then as you can see, the rest of the stripes are a lot smaller than mine, I feel. So I don't think I was wearing my glasses that day, or I'm just getting old as hell. I don't know. But yeah. And here's the guitar before paint. Always, like I said, remember to tape your neck pockets, man. You don't want any paint in there, any residue, no nothing. And there it is with the back. Oh, you know what, that's the next one. I was surprised. See, there's the neck there. You can kind of tell. Okay. Again, these photos are very grainy. Doesn't really do it any justice. Here's the Defender Music Instrument one that they put out. Again, see how the trim is darker? Okay. And again, I was just using, oh man, I was just using that as just, you know, reference photos. That was the freaking picture spinning thing of death. You know, like I said, I got really high quality photos on there where you can just sit there and take a look. So again, my nine's 100% perfect, but I thought it turned out decent for my first attempt at it ever. So yeah, that's really all I got, guys. Again, thanks for watching as always. You know what? Do you guys want to know the specs of the neck? I guess we can go over that real quick. I'm already 47 minutes. What's an extra couple minutes, right? We might as well cover everything. So let me see here. That's Musicraft. Guys, sorry. We're trying to find this sucker for you. Here we go. So let's see. So it's called the SD80. Is that neck for Butala? So it's 21 frets, 2 3/16 standard fender size, heel width, nut width is 1 5/8, which again is for the Floyd Rose 2 shelf. It has the rear mounting holes for the Floyd, 4mm adjuster at the heel, bird's eye maple, which was an extra $60. The fretboard wood was again bird's eye maple. It's an extra $30. I don't think you can choose like what, if you want it 3A, 5A or whatever. 10-inch radius. Back profile was medium, 0.83 to 0.94. 6150 medium jumbo nickel silver frets. Inlays were black plastic. Tuner holes are 10mm. Again, the fretboard edges were heavy rolled. I think Musicraft actually charges you for it. What are you doing? What's your deal? You can't hold on for 30 more seconds, getting on my nerves. Love you, but dang. Don't forget the skunk stripe on the back. That was a $5 charge, and I didn't get it scalloped. So all in for that neck, $310. and then I think another 20 for shipping. So again, $330, not bad. Like, so you get a neck anywhere around $300 mark, you are doing well. So now I'm going to officially get off of here. Again, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate all the support. I'm glad to finally get to talk about another guitar. I do have other guitars to talk about, but I figured since I'm on the Van Halen run, we might as well just keep that going for a little bit longer until I get these other builds done. You guys really seem to enjoy the stuff. Appreciate you. And till next time, again, do whatever it is that you do. Bye-bye.